Hello, my name is Kelly Wilbanks, and I am so excited to be your Compel instructor for this September. I write newsletters, I produce newsletters, I edit newsletters. I really enjoy the medium, if you can believe it or not. I think a lot of us feel guilty about newsletters. I notice this when people see me come into like a chat room or join a work together. They're all like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'm working on my newsletter." I'm here to tell you, I'm not here to make you feel guilty about anything. Um, I, uh, I I know we have a lot on our plates, and actually, I'm going to speak to that a little bit today. So, my the current name of my business is Novel Newsletters. I have to admit, as a creative, I have renamed it a few times. I am an intern with Kathy Lip, and I began writing newsletters for her in 2019. And it was through that process that I discovered that I have a knack for it and I enjoy it. Um, so I've just been producing my own, writing them, editing them, and working with different companies and authors and entrepreneurs ever since. So I'm here to help you add this branch to your marketing tree. So let's get started. Um, First things first, I just want to say that there is only one you, that God knows you by name and He's called you with your quirks, your talents, your weaknesses, your experiences onto the front lines for His kingdom. And that is no small charge. John 15:16a says, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit that will last." I'm a quasi gardener, and we have a few fruit trees. I wouldn't say I'm an expert by any means, but I do know a couple things. First, that it takes quite a few years to really get good fruit on a tree. Second, you really need to know like the soil that the tree is planted in. You need to make sure that the tree you planted has enough space to grow and it has sunlight, and you need to know the enemy of your tree. Like there's lots of little things that come with bearing fruit, and I think that's a lot like building your business. You were chosen that you might bear fruit. And this isn't an insta harvest. This is the time where you do the hard work. You learn your craft. You deepen your knowledge of the Bible. You sharpen your message. And in so doing, you create the platform that will ultimately elevate your message. Let's expand your mind of what newsletters can be. This is my favorite part because I love to create and innovate. And we get to play with possibilities here. So let's start with what's simple. A lot of times we think of newsletters and we think of our church bulletin, and we think of like an 8.5 by 11 page, maybe front to back, of just little blocky squares and maybe a picture, but it's grainy and black and white probably because I'm thinking 90s, right? Sometimes there's like maybe a financial budget in there and a missionary family we're supposed to be praying for, right? But gone are those days, really. Here we are in an age where you can create something that is so versatile. And while I think it's important to create, have a template, have something that you're using, each time you're sending something out. Like there's really no point in reinventing the wheel. The content of your newsletter can be different each time, and like how you present your information. So let's talk about let's just go through some of these ideas, okay? And we can add more to them in our community group. So first off, you can just, relay the news. Like, what if there was an article that you read that morning and that really, spoke to you, and you just want to, say, "Hey, this is really interesting. I really liked this, and here's a link to it." Simple, right? You could write a letter. You really could. You could just say, "Hey, I miss you," or, like sometimes the most honest, or I don't know if honest is the right word, but I show up the best on the page when I am thinking of my best friend, when I write my letters or when I write something. So write a letter to your best friend, check it to make sure it's not, I don't know, it doesn't expose too much, but, something really warm, send a letter. Make a video, like this. It's pretty simple. And send that to your people. That could take maybe even less time than putting together newsletter. So you could put a 6 sentence summary of your week. I don't know if you remember when the 6 sentence memoirs were really big. I feel like it was just 6 sentences. I feel like that was a couple years ago, maybe longer. Maybe I feel it was before the pandemic. So maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but that was a big hit for a while. So a 6 sentence summary. And you can invite people to write back their own because it's really not that hard of a challenge. A photo collage with secret clues about your next book launch. That one might be a little harder, but it is what you make it. A simple intro with links to some of your favorite podcasts, a link to a blog post you wrote, a link to, or like a trip down memory lane. So maybe like a Facebook memory comes up and you just link to that. Maybe, or maybe not link to that, sorry, but you use that as inspiration. Maybe a recipe you love and why. Maybe it meant something to you and your grandma. A list of your favorite things, maybe a rocking chair that you love, or 5 gadgets you love in the kitchen. Look at the news cycles all around us. Like, folks have to be really inventive with the way information is presented all the time. So, of course, create or buy that template, that you love, and reuse it. But change it out, like not just the content, but how it's presented, so you stand out. Make sure you are part of the package. People signed up for your newsletter because they want to get to know you. Hard to believe, right? But it's true. People want to know you. Make sure you're in there, and it's not just about your book or your characters or even just Bible verses. I think sometimes we can hide behind those things, and people want to know you. So, and honestly, I totally fangirl over authors. So, you put something out there, and people feel like they're getting a little slice of you, and it makes them kind of feel seen, and it deepens that connection with you. Here's a way to get yourself on the page. So I remember this icebreaker from junior high. This pastor went around and he asked all of us kids, what makes you tick, what tickles you, and what ticks you off. So I'll share one with you. When I was a young mom, it would always bother me when I would see like dudes coming out of the family restroom, especially when I had like my young children in tow. And one time I even confronted a man at Home Depot when he was coming out of the bathroom. I was like, dude, this is for families. Like, and I had my 5-year-old and my 3-year-old and my 1-year-old with me. And he's like, well, I have a family. Like, that's not what it means. It's not just for anybody who has a family and like all the single people are excluded. I mean, technically everybody has a family in some way, shape, or form. Anyways, lost on him. But anyways, now you know that a little bit about me, that I confront people for minor social infractions and that I have 3 young daughters. So don't be afraid to be who you are for the people who literally signed up for it. So here we are. This is like the title of my talk here is Curate Your Content. So I think a lot of creatives get burnt out trying to create. And they don't take advantage of the content that they've already created. So first, this is not cheating. Second, no one, not even your mom, is reading everything that drips off your pen. And you can reshape content you previously shared in a myriad of ways. So let's talk about how you can do that. So you might have 100 blog post articles you could go through, depending on how long you've been in ministry or you've been in business. So you might have social media posts you can go back through. You might have articles you've written for newspapers or magazines or even Compel. We all have pictures that we've taken. Pictures will lead. So I used to write for Baby Center when my kids were little, and sometimes I'd just scroll through my pictures and I would find one and I'd be like, that's a really interesting picture that I took, of my kids, and they were jumping and one got hurt, and how did that make me feel? And so I'd write a little post about it. Sometimes I check my memories on Facebook and I find inspiration. The key is really looking for inspiration. So we can reuse something. we've made, like, and we can, we can take a blog post article and simplify it and put it in our newsletter. But I'm not really even talking about that. I'm talking about curating your content. So it's taking what we've previously written and extracting an idea or theme from it and then writing it for our newsletter. So, so for Kathy Lip, say, she's talking about decluttering, and she's talking about, how quickly, and I'm making this up, but how quickly maybe like tool clutter can add up, right? So she's talking about how many tools it takes to run a garden, and, can she let go of any of her tools? And so, the whole point that she's making is gardening tools, decluttering, right? But can you extract that and that idea and think about, okay, so what tools might you need for which seasons, right? Like, okay, well, we need these kinds of tools for planting and these kinds of tools for harvesting, and these, so maybe that's not the point of her talking of the talk or of the podcast. It's mostly how to declutter these tools, but can you extract an idea that's a little adjacent to the main podcast and kind of run with that for your message? I just did that in real time, folks. Okay, so here is a pro tip. The most common problem I see when I edit newsletters is length and essay format. So, okay, I guess that's two things, but you're not grading me like an English teacher, are you? We're really not writing for our English teachers anymore. An engaging newsletter reads like someone is talking to you, and that is different than somebody who is writing to you. So I know a paragraph's technically 3 to 5 sentences, but really in a newsletter, 2 to 3 sentences blurbs is really kind of the chunking that you want to see. So I usually write a 2 to 3 sentence blurb, have some white space, another 2 to 3 sentence blurb, white space, maybe another 2 to 3 sentence blurb, and then I go on and have a picture, because we all need pictures or a GIF or GIF or, something to kind of break it up. And then I repeat, and then I do another picture, and then I do a call to action or an encouraging send off or, something at the end. So we just need to keep it simple, because people, I don't know, everyone says it's ADD brain. I come from a family filled with ADD brains, and I love them. I think it makes me feel like I can switch channels pretty easily, which I consider a superpower. But really think, small, like a devotion. It's just a simple idea, and we're threading it through the needle, and then we're tying it off at the end. So this isn't the time to wax on and on. And just think about, when you're getting a newsletter in your inbox, what draws you in, and what what's your turn on and what's your turn off. For me, a turn off is when I see a really blocky newsletter, just thick paragraphs. Like I'm like, nope. I'm not going to give you my time, so I'm just going to move on. So usually people just read the headlines, so keeping it simple, breaking it up with headlines, just letting people's eyes kind of flow. Anytime somebody gets stuck, you've kind of lost them, and they'll move on to something else. So just remember that. Okay, to summarize, we have 3 action items. Expand your concept of what a newsletter can be. Make sure you are part of the package. People want to know you. And 3, curate your content. When you do these things, you take care of yourself and you take care of your people. Newsletters grow through word of mouth, through an excellent freebie that you're offering on your website, and through your constant promotion of it. That's putting your links to your newsletter out there. It's making sure your link works on your website. It's making sure that your pop-up's not annoying people. It's making sure that when you're on a podcast, you're giving that podcast host your link. It's all those things, okay? And we can talk about more of that in the community this month. So, all right, thank you so much for listening. And be sure to remember this, that God chose you. He appointed you to go bear fruit that will last. All right, thank you so much. You guys have a great day, and I will talk to you in the community.